from the Tapped Out Wrestling Network studios, we bring you the original Tapped Out Wrestling podcast with your hosts, Nick McDaniel and Myron Fancher. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are once again with our Sunday 7 show. I am, of course, your host, Nick, and I'm, of course, joined by my buddy Myron.
Hey, guys, it's me again.
And you continue the tradition of waving to the crowd, which just cracks me up every week. But I guess if it's at this point, if it's a tradition, you might as well keep it up, right?
Yeah, something's working. People out there in the internet land love it.
Say, yeah, we get the responses. Did he wave this week? So I've become a habit of me just doing a play-by-play. Okay, everybody, he's waving, so wave back at your machine, right? So, anywho. So man, we always try to attack the news here of things that we didn't get a chance to cover during the week or things that happened later in the week. And man, I don't want to say this as, without being negative, but what a kind of a depressing week.
Yeah. It's sad, to see it when this happens, when legends pass, but when they start passing all at once, it's really, really disturbing. And we had that spell in rock and roll, 6 months ago, where everybody went bam, bam, bam right before, or it's right before the end of the year.
Yeah, it was right there.
Where all the rock stars were passing, and it's sad. I think it hits me very hard because it's like, okay, here's another piece of your childhood gone, or yeah, here's something else. Here's something else you really enjoyed. Gone. And these guys, the guys that passed this weekend were there were 4 that passed over this last week, but 2 of them were massive names in wrestling.
In our world, especially, yeah.
Yes, definitely. Especially with me being at the time, I got a lot of WWE on television when I was younger, and the George the Animal Steele's impact was huge. The angle with Elizabeth and Macho Man. He was just such an interesting character. Apparently, he was a high school football coach at one time. Had a master's degree.
Oh yeah, he was a teacher. Yeah,
he's one of those people that no one ever says anything bad about. They never say, "Oh, well." There's nobody out there saying anything bad about George right now, and that's something that's pretty touching. I hope I can go out that well.
Yeah.
But, you had more experience with Koloff than I did. I had maybe a after mag type exposure to Koloff because he was one that I saw mainly on the covers of magazines or reading the wrestling magazines. I didn't get to see him in action very much.
Oh, he was huge. I was, in that Georgia Championship wrestling era where he it was him and Nikita and Crusher Khrushchev. They were always in that 6-man tag team, cluster with other guys. Of course, they had the revolving door. They would, bring in because originally it was Koloff and Don Kernodle. They would go on, obviously, when Nikita came in. Koloff was probably the typical heel, back in that time, especially when you think about in the NWA world, Ivan Koloff was the Russian. I know when you go to the WWF, world, it was, Nikolai Volkov was the one that you think of. But Koloff was but he was a staple here. And there's in the last few days, it feels like the last 2 days with all the passings we've had. But it's been just a lot of, I saw Ricky Morton tweeting about it.
Yeah, Ricky had some really touching tweets.
Marty Jannetty was tweeting about it. A lot of these guys, it's kind of funny that we as kids remember them as these monsters and these, big brooding guys or whatever, but then you always hear the good stories from all these other wrestlers that we have to kind of understand that they were our childhood. We looked at them as larger than life creatures, or in the best sense of the word. But these wrestlers they're losing friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's he passed away due to liver cancer. George's was kidney failure, but he had been in hospice and getting taken care of.
And wrestling seems to be one of those businesses that has a lot closer friendships than other ones because it's so individual performance, and you're not on teams as much as you are one-on-one or small interactions, or you ride in cars from show to show, and people get to know each other better. It's sad to see when they put it in such context. The Ricky Morton Facebook post that we put it on the Facebook was just, it was heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
And, just about everybody had a picture with Ivan too.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, it's, and you forget when we talk about the impact of these guys, we were saying Koloff was kind of your go-to heel.
Yeah.
Because he's the evil Russian, and that was in the whole Cold War, right after the post Cold War. It's an easy.
Oh yeah.
You can joke about it, and you can call it easy heat, or cheap heat. Just play the Russian card, but nobody played it as good as he did.
And it was scary too.
Oh yeah, and the funny part is if you go back and look at these videos of him, he actually wasn't that big.
He was fierce looking though.
Yeah, I mean he was like literally 5'7.5". Now, no, he did weigh, around 270 pounds. I mean, he was thick. But then even when we think about Steele, and I'm sorry to flip like, because like you said, we're both in our head. I know we're just both running through all the memories here. And you got to think about George Steele was on the biggest stage of them all at WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
Remember he was in the corner with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yep.
In what some people call the greatest match of all time between the Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat. So that whole
it's funny how there's so many great matches that go with Ricky Steamboat's name involved.
Yeah, there's a reason. That might be I'm about to pull a Conrad here. That might be a show someday. As far as Ricky Steamboat goes, because there's lots and lots and lots to cover on Ricky Steamboat. The other passings, we didn't want to just skip right over them. Obviously, Chavo Senior. Chavo Classic, whatever, what he was called. He was one of the brothers of Eddie. He still was a little bit, I do remember him, when I was younger, being in Florida, because I do remember, as crazy as this sounds, I remember a very young, Eddie Guerrero starting with his brother Hector and Mondo, and but just not a ton. I didn't have a ton of, coverage as far as Senior goes. But it does suck. I mean, we're just like, and even Nicole Bass, we brought her up. I mean, she had a small run in ECW and then that little brief run in WWE/F, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It didn't really click, but it just still sucks. I mean,
well, it's sad to see someone that you have enjoyed watching them perform and knowing you'll never see any new material out of them. I mean, I know most of them had retired and you'd never see anything out. But it's that finality of death that is so emotional. It draws people out. George the Animal Steele is going to be missed. Chavo, from what I've heard listening to various other podcasts, apparently had mad style that he could do anything. Nicole Bass, not so much, but she was another one of those massive female heels.
And she had some general just fame. I mean, she was on the Howard Stern show. So, I mean, she had some, other outside of wrestling, she had some stuff going on too. So,
yeah. And then Koloff it's a throwback to a time where that was, I mean, even today we're still doing it with Rusev. You still got that Eastern European heel, that foreign country that still hates this type thing.
Yeah,
and hell, nobody knows where Bulgaria is, but we don't like them. So,
well, if they don't like us, we don't like them. Pretty much,
exactly.
And today, I actually took a little time. Country. I actually went on the old YouTube machine and actually Googled Ivan Koloff promo. And there's a classic Nikita Koloff promo with his with Uncle Ivan, as he always called him. They were talking about the Magnum TA feuds and the Road Warriors, and it's, again, you don't appreciate a lot of that stuff until, those guys until they're gone. But George wasn't a promo guy; he was more the character.
Yeah,
you love to see the crazy character with the green tongue and eating the turnbuckle and all that kind of stuff. That was just kind of his gimmick. So,
and you could bring, they did so much for the future of wrestling, and the guys now, and the different ways people learned how to work watching them. It's sad to see.
Yeah.
And I hope, if anything, we are able to appreciate these people and then learn from their contributions.
Absolutely. So, man, let's move on to some lighter things. There was a big tweet, story, and of course I caught the tweet, and I tweeted it out asking people what they thought. Kurt Angle made what some people are calling a little bit of a controversial comment. I'll kind of give you a little bit of it. Let's see. I want to make sure that I give everything. I'm getting this from WrestlingInc.com, so I want to make sure I'm crediting and everything. But he did speak with, it was with Forbes magazine, believe it or not. They asked him about, now hold on, I gotta stop because I said this. Did we ever think in our lifetime that we would see Forbes magazine, Forbes.com or whatever, covering the WWF/E?
Well, it's a stock.
It's a publicly traded company now, so they're all in. I just find it hilarious. I never would have thought.
Oh, yeah.
So, anywho.
We're legitimate now.
Yeah, they're a legitimate company. The question was asked of who should induct him into the Hall of Fame. His quote was, I would say Austin, Cena, Undertaker, and Brock Lesnar are my 4 picks. And then, paraphrasing, to induct me into the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. That, by the way, is not the controversial comment. This is the one that's drawing a little bit of a crazy reaction. They asked him about John Cena's place in history. And he's been the staple of sports entertainment for the last 11 years. The incredible thing about John has never been known personally for all of us as a fighter. He's not a guy who's going to throw fists and mix it up. But what he has been able to endure for 12 to 13 years, nobody's ever done that. John Cena is the man. I don't know anybody else who's gone 13 years on top. I'm not going to say he's the greatest athlete in WWE history, but he will go down as the greatest of all time in WWE history.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
As I said when I first heard this and I read your tweet, if anyone can make a statement like this, Kurt Angle is uniquely qualified. And you can't really argue with him because he's that big a guy. He's Mr. Wrestling. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's won championships in WWE and TNA. Long career. He's fought everyone. And if he says he's the best, he's qualified. But when you get to reading it and diving deep into it where he says, yes, Cena did this for this many years, and Cena did this for this many years, it's true. Cena has taken a WWE career and made a lot more out of it than most people did. He's had injuries. He's not been hurt bad enough like to have to retire where it is neck and like Stone Cold or say Edge did. He's been when he's off the, he goes on and off the show, but when he's off the programs, he's doing movies, he's promoting, he's always out there being a representative of the WWE. He draws nonstop. He's a talent. He's an asset to have because he doesn't go out there and make the WWE look bad. He's well-spoken. He's not a bad-looking man. He can talk, walk, go out there and do an interview, and everybody's like, oh, wow, that's an asset to the business. So it's good to see that he's being recognized for it. He's not always the most popular wrestler because, who when they're that great can be the most popular.
Well, it's hard for a guy to be on top and not have that jealousy, the resentment, whatever you want to call it. I mean, people are, wrestling fans always give well, he's being shoved down our throat and we're tired of seeing him. Well, merchandise sales and things would beg to differ.
Well, if you didn't buy the shirts, they wouldn't make them.
They wouldn't, exactly. And honestly, if they quit buying the merch, they would pull him. He would fall down the card.
Yep, and he's been the staple of the program. He's the actual champ that runs the camp, for lack of a better way to put it. He's a solid, bookable, marketable commodity at all times. You know, John Cena is your standard bearer. He's the guy out front, letting people know about your company.
Well, it's like you said. I mean, when Vince always wants somebody that he can, and now that they're a publicly traded company, it's even completely different than it was back in the day. When Hogan, he would send him on, and you're going to laugh when you hear the story, by the way. You're not going to catch what this means until probably tomorrow from another podcast that you're listening to. It's like, Vince wants to be able to send Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man to Arsenio Hall. So they can, but it's somebody who's going to represent the company. Now, even more so, he needs John Cena, who's going to go on the Today Show, for crying out loud.
Oh, yeah.
And co-host for a day or, multiple days. And
he can slide right into that role and look like he's been doing it for years.
He's doing movies. I mean, now, which is going to lead us to our next topic here in a second. But, just all of the things that he does for that company, I think that's what everybody, gives him the big credit for is, yeah, he doesn't always go there and give you the 5-star match. But, hey, we've made this debate lately. He's had some good matches lately.
His matches lately have been amazing.
Well, him and AJ are great dance partners.
Yeah, that's good to watch.
And I don't know if you read that art. That was a thing somebody asked AJ Styles about, and he's gave John all the credit in the world, and he said, hey, it's working with him is awesome. I think it is. Yeah, he's not the internet darling, quote unquote, like AJ is, but he's the man. Everybody knows he's the man.
Yeah.
And then before we get into this was another article there was a John Cena centric week maybe. Did you see the thing where on Sean Waltman, he was doing a podcast and he said that he knows for a fact that John Cena campaigned to put Bray Wyatt over as the champion on Sunday and then on Tuesday?
I did not hear that.
Yes, he said that basically back when they wrestled at Mania a couple years ago, John wanted to lose then, but he got overridden because Bray hadn't put in the equity yet. He hadn't put in the time yet. But this time, John Cena went out of his way to make and tell him he was putting him over. Like John Cena was going to be pinned by Bray Wyatt.
Well, John knows what's best for the business,
So, and now I hope that's true, and I hope that he's, helping, he realizes maybe it's time to start putting some guys over. But hey, I will make the argument he ain't tapping to nobody. We've had that on another podcast. If you want to know what that
is. The time, what was the time frames? Does it last? It's like 13 or so years.
Yeah.
He hasn't tapped out since my daughter has been alive.
Yeah. Your daughter's never, other than on the WWE Network, your daughter's never seen John Cena tap out live in her lifetime. Which is crazy just to think about. What was the other one? Oh, I know what it was. You know what? I'm not going to spoil it because it's on a pod. It's one that you told me you're going to listen to, so I'm not going to give this one away. It was about somebody not being pinned 1, 2, 3 in so long. I'll give you a hint. It's Hogan. It involves Hogan. So when you're
Postomania, did you listen to that one?
No.
God, I love Shivani's show.
Haven't got there yet. They're awesome, but unfortunately, Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson put out 2 shows this week. So
yeah,
and dude, they're long. They're long shows. Oh, yeah. I love them, but they're long. It takes me literally like sometimes 2 days and commute to work and home to get a show in.
Yeah.
So back on track with John Cena, which of course is the other thing. The big news is that supposedly, rumor is, well, it's not, I guess it's not rumor. It's pretty much well known because Cena has been pulled from post WrestleMania advertising on events because supposedly he's going to go back to that part-time schedule because he's got a movie to make.
Yeah.
The movie The Pact, scheduled for April release of next year. Typical movie scheduling would mean it's got to be filmed pretty soon. So after Mania, everybody's assumption is he's going to go out and so he's got to go make a movie.
Well, they need a year to put together a good movie like that. I mean, that they're going to actually be production on.
Well, yeah, you have to go. You got to go film. Then you got to go do post production. Then they do the marketing and the all that ad campaigns and blah blah blah, all that good stuff. So yeah, typically it's 9 months to a year. I mean, typically, if you're doing a huge budget movie, God, it's longer than that. But especially if they're special effects. But I got a feeling this one's not going to have tons of special effects.
It probably shouldn't be really special effects heavy.
Not very much so. So I mean, that's kind of the big news is that John's going to be gone. So I was talking to somebody about this, and I asked a question. So does that mean that John's going to do the job? Because it's obviously the rumor is it's Nikki and John versus Maurice and The Miz. If he's leaving, is he going to do the JOB for The Miz on his way out, or do you think we get something happening on the next pay-per-view or on a SmackDown that puts him out for a while?
I don't know, and the thing is, I don't know how they're going to write that because, I'm going to have to see that when I see it. I can't predict it. I don't understand exactly what they're going for. It's going to be interesting. Cena and The Miz should work very well together. The Miz is incredibly talented. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know how they're going to get Cena off. I mean, if he does a job, how is he going to be off TV for a while?
I'm hoping that honestly, even if he should do the job, some form or fashion, in my opinion, on if he's going to be taking that kind of time off. Which, let's give him to his credit. He's been doing it. When he's left before, he's been losing. Remember, Del Rio took the belt off of him. He was gone for a while. Yeah. AJ got the belt off of him. He went away for a while. So he's at least had a recent record of he's doing the favors on the way out for a little while. But my thing was, if he's going to win, maybe Miz just snaps and literally does something. He injures John Cena to take him out. So he can get some heat, so he can even elevate up and get some more heat on him. That'd be my opinion. But
that's a lot. That is a lot to ask out of both performers. So it would definitely give Miz some heat.
I agree.
It would give Miz some heat.
I think, in my opinion, that it would give him some momentum. Because if John's going to go away for a while, and Miz is going to move on, the last thing you want to do is have Miz, doing the job and not getting any heat of any kind. And then now he's stuck, on SmackDown after John's gone and can't really get his revenge or whatever you want to call it, get any heat back on him. So my thing is either I think he's got to go over, or he's got to put some kind of heat, on the Cena post, because momentum is a huge thing. We've argued that before. We talked about it with the American Alpha, that their momentum got killed with what they were doing. So hopefully, again, something big on, Miz can get something coming out of it and pick up some momentum. But now moving on to our next segment, man. Speaking of momentum, Impact Wrestling, man's got a little momentum going.
Yeah, it's good to see that. Impact has not had a lot of direction. They've had quality program that's got better with the Hardys and some of the other things and some of the work Lashley's been doing, where it's consistently getting better, but it's still, it's not caught on. The concept that they might actually get some more people behind them and continue to promote the product and get more exposure, that's good news for them.
I mean, here's the exposure. This is this week. Their ratings for the 16th episode, February 16th, was 325,000 viewers. Now, that's up from 1 week. Now, mind you, 1 week ago, they were at 252,000 people. That is, if my math is correct, and I'm generally fairly good at it, that's 73,000 more people. And if you do the 73, now percentages I suck at.
That's a third more people.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's about a third more people. that is huge in a ratings thing. If they keep drawing that kind of attention, we might actually have to do a dedicated Impact show. What do you think?
You mean like a show that just covered Impact?
I think that might be a good idea. We might have to keep that under advisement.
If they can do it, I mean, we're going to have to find somebody who's qualified to handle it, because I don't follow it enough to be able to say anything. I don't think Eric has a passion for it.
He likes it. I don't know if he loves it. Let's put it that way. I think that I bet there's a free agent out there worth signing that could cover Impact and do a good job. I think maybe that's a new mission. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, right?
Yeah.
Alrighty. But now, the reason why we've had this is because we also heard the rumors. There's some swirls of rumors out there. Can we steal a line and say rumor and innuendos?
Yes, rumors and innuendos.
And I'll actually not even going to be vague about it. Jason Powell of ProWrestling.net is reporting that there's actually been some Spike TV officials sniffing around at the Impact tapings.
Yeah, I hear that. Friendly visits.
What do you think about them getting out of their Pop TV? Because it's only a year and it's a barter deal. So in 2018, they're going to need a new deal. I think if nothing else, I think the good part about it, I think the Pop deal is pretty much a lot because it's a barter deal.
Yeah. It's not paying them any money. They're just drawing half of the revenue or
the ad revenue.
I can't remember exactly how that works.
I think where they have some, and I mean, I openly tell you, we've had this conversation about our Impact knowledge. But everything I've seen, heard, or read, you remember last year when they were in this spot, they had nothing. Like they had to take whatever they could get because they were going to be off TV if they didn't get something, and they got the Pop deal.
Yeah.
Well, this time around, I feel like the rate. I mean, I think they're, if not one of the highest rated shows on Pop. Correct?
I would have to.
I'm guessing. So if that being the case, I would say Pop's going to keep them pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, Pop doesn't want to get rid of them, but I don't think they've got the money to hold them because Pop actually winds up being on a lot at our house because it's got tons of those Lifetime type movies, and my girlfriend loves that stuff, and so it's got it's on the TV a lot. It's a favorite channel, not because of really anything besides the women's movies, and those are just those aren't new content. That's just retreads of something shown on other crappy networks.
Right. So but that's my thing is what I'm thinking is at least now when they're negotiating, they don't have to go into a panic mode of taking whatever. Like if Spike TV said we're interested and want you back, they don't have to take a crap deal. Because they're like, hey, we got a crap deal over here. We could stay if we want. Granted, they would have more viewers on Spike. It's just a sheer base of, customers that get that channel. But I feel like that helps them. And of course, the rumor is that, obviously with Dixie Carter not in charge anymore.
Yes, that can't help. That can't hurt at all.
Well, it was just more, she was part of the whole that Vince Russo debacle that they had. That was kind of why.
Yeah, and I read a lot of what the guys have said recently. AJ Styles had some really good interviews where he spoke about it, and Dixie was pretty much WWE light. She brought in the old WWE talent and put them over on top of her, her homegrown talent. They didn't get anything to develop. It's a recipe for disaster, and that's what was happening. So, and she's gone now. So maybe things can improve. Maybe things can finally get. Yeah,
maybe Jarrett's going to turn the corner for them.
Yeah,
I mean that would be awesome. I'd love to see another company make a climb. With Jarrett and Mantell. In charge, maybe they can turn this thing around and kind of get it back on track. So,
apparently something is popped while we're recording the show, Nick. There is a big buzz going around on the Twitter for wrestlings right now where Nikki Cross was apparently at a live show where she tried, she's what, Scottish? In her strong accent, she was trying to call people a bunch of maggots. Well, it came out sounding like another word.
Uh-oh.
And she did not say that. But Killian Damo, or what do they call that guy now? Damo, the other guy that's Insanity with her.
Yeah.
Killian Dane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has come out to break kayfabe and take her side and say what she actually said in the matter.
Gotcha.
And that's one of those things where the internet wrestling community has sometimes has that nature to pop up and, overreact or spread a lie or a rumor or a mistruth.
Take a half-truth and run with it.
Yeah.
Take some misinformation and run with it.
Yeah, and I really don't think anyone in the wrestling community right now is stupid enough to say anything that controversial.
No.
Or that wrong.
No.
I mean, Hawk said those. Hawk apparently got himself in some. Road Warrior Hawk got himself in some trouble. Animal,
Hawk's
yes, sorry. Hawk's long passed away.
If
I never could tell them apart.
If Hawk made some comments recently, then there was a Ouija board involved or a medium or something like that. So.
Yeah, so apparently Animal made some shitty remarks in the Grammys, which, maybe he was drinking, who knows. But that's going to hurt him on the road because, you're not going to get the bookings to do the shows and the signings. You're not going to get the invitation to come down to the Hall of Fame. That's a $5,000 check. That's a $5,000 check you fucked up.
Well,
I
think...
Sorry, there's my E.
There's your E. We earn our E every week. We always try to figure out which one of us is going to earn the E, the explicit label for the iTunes. Generally, it's Myron. Not always.
Yes.
But yeah, I think this as a whole, it's a different time, different place, and I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm going to there's lots of stuff on this WrestleMania 6 Bruce Pritchard show that you're going to get, and there's going to be a little bit of talk about just that exact type of thing, about what you couldn't do now, what they were doing back then, and people saying things, and it's
and apparently, everything was just absolutely improv. Nobody rehearsed, nobody prepared. And so when it came out, it just was said.
Back in the day. There's lots of that on that episode. I can't plug that enough up. There's so much of that episode that I just keep thinking of as we're talking about these other things. There's a Randy Savage story. There's a Jake the Snake Roberts story. We're talking about ad-libbing promos. There's a thing where the Jake Roberts, if you do the WrestleMania 6 promo with Jake the Snake Roberts, it's funny. Bruce Pritchard and like Conrad Thompson says, man, that could quite possibly be one of the best promos of all time. And he asked, was this scripted or was this ad-libbed or what? Bruce Pritchard said that entire thing was Jake Roberts. He just totally did it himself. And, now I'm going to earn the E rating for us here because I'll give you the punchline of the whole thing. There's a video of Jake watching that promo, and Jake makes the comment, just watching that video makes me hard. Because he knew, watching it, how good it was. Which is crazy.
The more I hear about Jake, and I get, insider stuff, he apparently was more behind the scenes and more booking and creative than most people understand he was. He was a big deal. He was a great wrestling mind.
The comment was on that podcast when they're talking about Jake Roberts. Conrad asked Bruce, he says, the word on the street is basically if Jake had just taken care of himself, body and mind, that there's no doubt that Jake Roberts right now would be one of the, biggest creative forces in WWE. And Bruce Pritchard was like, oh yeah, that's definitely fair. Because nobody, and he's like, when he says like nobody promo wise, in the ring psychology, even basic stuff where kids think you have to do so much in a match. And he's like, Jake could tell a story and literally just the match would be slow, methodical build, nothing crazy, and then bam, get you. He would just get you.
He was able to scare. He was able to intimidate people. He brought out fear, primal fear in the audiences. It's some pretty impressive stuff he was able to do.
Oh yeah, he definitely. And that's why he is the legend, that he is. And speaking of another legend, man, we got the big news. What was it on Monday? I think it leaked out. Bill Simmons is actually going to finally get the documentary he's been wanting to do this Andre the Giant documentary since like 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
When he was at ESPN, he was wanting to do like a 30 for 30.
Yeah.
And now he's going to partner with HBO and get this documentary made.
Well, Andre really deserves all the recognition he can get. And he's a fascinating character, So I would be really, how can you not be interested in watching this?
Now, depending on who you talk to, it's one of people either loved Andre, and there's a lot more. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot more people that loved Andre. But there are some people out there who say Andre took liberties with people.
Oh, yeah. I heard the horrible stories about him. But as Pritchard said, he was just Andre.
And yeah. But then there's a lot of the good ones. There was what was the channel that used to do the biography? Is it E?
A&E.
A&E, maybe the biography shows. They did one on Andre. It was really, really good, but that's been years ago. I know this one. Let's be honest. If the WWE is involved, which they are, and also his daughter is involved, because she's the one who is the she oversees his estate and his trust.
Executor.
She's the executor. She has the control of all of that. I kind of imagine it's going to be a positive piece.
Yeah.
I don't imagine they're going to really rip into Andre a whole lot.
No, and there are negatives. I mean, but there are negatives involved in everyone's life. He was a larger-than-life character. There are bad things he did, but when you look at the entire impact of what he did, as far as our childhoods, wrestling, society, he transcends wrestling. He's one of those him, Hogan, The Rock that you actually say were bigger than wrestling.
Oh yeah, he's a guy that even back in the day, back in the 80s and 70s and 80s, for crying out loud, even if you didn't watch wrestling, you could go up to somebody, or you could go up to somebody who just was Joe Schmo on the street and be like, "Do you know who Andre the Giant is?" Most people would know.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
And man, I totally just need to be paid for the sponsorship for this WrestleMania 6 show they did and luckily I just listened to it, so a lot of this for some reason just happens to tie into this episode of Something to Wrestle With. They tell the story of at 6. Did you know that was his last pay-per-view? That was his last big match. He teamed with Haku. They wrestled Demolition.
Yeah.
And it was for the tag titles. They were the champs. Andre and Haku were the champs.
Uh-huh.
And this is kind of the kind of to say what kind of guy most of the wrestlers thought he was. Apparently, Bret Hart likes to draw. He does caricatures.
Uh-huh.
And he had drawn a picture for Andre. It was of Andre with a lot of the boys in the back.
Yeah.
And then Bret had all of the guys sign it for him.
Oh,
and then he gave it to Andre, and they said he literally was moved to tears by it. That he, that brought tears to his eyes, that the guys thought that much of him.
Yeah.
And stuff. And, he was the boss, that's what Bruce calls him. He said boss. He's the boss, man. But yeah, so those are the kind of stories I got a feeling we'll get a lot of that. You're going to get a lot of his traveling and probably the difficulties that he had, traveling and stuff like that. I got a feeling, but anytime there's a documentary of any form or fashion on, especially somebody the level of Andre the Giant, I'm all in.
Yeah. Oh, that's a definite watch, man. That is a definite watch.
But I guess moving on to the next stuff, there were two big retirements this week, man.
Yep.
And one was in the combat world and one was in the WWE. The big retirement, of course, was Brock Lesnar is officially retired from UFC / MMA.
Yes, officially retired this time.
Yeah, I made the joke to you earlier. We were talking about it. I put it out on Twitter, of course, saying I'm guessing that age and a failed drug test had something to do with this. I know there was a fine with the Nevada Athletic Commission.
Yeah, but it was just a drop in the bucket compared to what he made on that, match.
Yeah.
And, the thing is, Lesnar is a beast. He's done it in the MMA world. He's done it in the pro wrestling world. So what? I mean, he's never going to be without work. He'll always be able to, even when he's retired, still come back and do stuff on the network or show up at pay-per-views and Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Famer.
You asked me something. You asked me something before we started recording about him being at some house shows and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if he realizes that, guys. I'm just shooting off I'm just what is Conrad always says. I'm freestyling here.
Yeah,
I wonder if he realizes when he realized he was done in UFC, he's done in MMA because he's not going to pass the drug test anymore.
Yeah.
Does he?
Well, he'll never have another drug test.
Well, my thing is his options over? Is WWE his only option left?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, maybe that's why he's showing up on some house shows.
Yeah.
Maybe Vince realizes that the leverage isn't quite there like it used to be. It's time to play the card.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe.
Hell, look what they've got. They've got him jobbing repeatedly. So they've got him. They've got him where he's cooperating and working now. So
I think that was him. I think that was him wanting something just new and fresh. And the Goldberg thing, since they're supposedly they're friends outside of in the outside world. That I think that's maybe why he was probably handpicked to be the guy to put it.
Oh, okay.
So who knows? But man, even more shocking than that, Rosa Mendez is retiring.
Yes, Rosa Mendez retired. Who's Rosa Mendez?
That's the funniest thing is I tweeted this out. I'm like, dude, I was not even aware she was still on the roster. She was in the Diva era. She was one of them. She's apparently, my daughter tells me she's on Total Divas or was on Total Divas, and she had a baby or something. So just making a joke about it. I was like, Rosa Mendez retired? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Who's Rosa? Like you said, and they're like, Rosa Mendez, really?
Yeah. It was a big deal. It was all over the place.
Yeah, everybody's reporting it, and I'm like, guys, she hasn't been of an impact of any kind. She's back in that whole Divas era. So that goes to tell you it's been a while.
The worst clickbait, though, I got sucked into last night, and every comment on the thread was like, I can't believe you did this. There was one of the comic book sites that posted, Superstars injury will keep them from being at Wrestlemania. I'm like, well, who could that be? I'm a wrestling journalist. I need to know. It was Darren Young.
He was going to be
his injury.
He's not going to be in the Andre the Giant battle royal now. So
yeah, and the people in the comments on that thread just tore them a new one about how ludicrous it was that they would actually make this into something like that.
To make an article out of it.
Yeah.
Goes back to our earlier comment about the whole taking some information and blowing it out of proportion or misinformation.
Oh,
and
God, yeah. And, wrestling links are the worst thing in the world because they are so full of
pop-ups
and redirects and other stuff. And it's like, I just wanted to read a story. I might as well be trying to see something about Mama June and her weight loss.
Yeah.
Not my hobby of professional wrestling or my lifelong interest. And it's greasy. I know the business is as Tony Schiavone says, is a bullshit business. So sometimes you have to have a little bullshit in you to do it and to cover it. But when it's so greasy that you can't even click on a link.
And
that's bad, man.
Yeah,
that's bad.
But speaking of rumors, man, there was another one this week that, and it kind of ties into the Rosa Mendez retirement. There was a WWE.com exclusive with Kelly backstage at Raw, and they had asked her about was there a possibility she's going to be at WrestleMania. She had made the comment she definitely was going to be at WrestleMania, but I don't know if you know that's because they had signed her for the Access signings. But then word comes out that she has signed a 3-year deal.
To do what?
And see, that's where I'm hoping that the details are slightly incorrect. Because, word is she signed a 3-year deal to come back and wrestle. But, man, she is the epitome, and I'm quoting you, she's the Divas era. That's her whole thing, is the Divas era. But now, the saving grace is part 2 of that rumor. First of all I've understood is that my daughter tells me that she's on a TV show called Wags, which is basically women.
Oh yeah, I know
athletes.
somebody that watches that show. I don't. I mean, actually, nobody at our house watches it, but one of the people I work with watches it and talks about it. And all she talks about is how stupid it is.
Right. Maybe they're bringing her back to have some kind of tie to something. I don't know. But the other 2 names associated in this rumor mill, I'm actually interested in. You brought up Victoria to me first.
Yes.
And then I had seen the one where Beth Phoenix's name was being thrown around.
Yes.
Those 2 work in the current environment.
Yeah, Victoria has been wrestling. Was a wrestler. She was more of a wrestler than a body. I mean, not that she had a bad body, but she was more of a wrestler than an attraction.
Yes.
So I think that back when women weren't seen as wrestlers, they were seen as images and something to look at. So she was is she really Mad Dog Vachon's daughter, or is that a kayfabe thing?
Oh, that's kayfabe.
Okay. Well, she was a big talent, and she's a really, really, powerfully built woman. And she was a talent. I remember her working. She was a talent and a pleasure to watch. Beth Phoenix I missed, but apparently Beth Phoenix was also a very, very large, muscular woman.
She was the Glamazon was her gimmick that they did, and she was solid. She was actually a very good worker. I think some of that was her size, just was her sheer size that she could work with some of those. So,
well, they need that. I mean, we need. They split the division, and going to the SmackDown really helped. It really helped all the women that went to SmackDown. All the women that went to Raw, not so much. Now, Charlotte got over big. Sasha got over big. But everybody else is just floundered, and they've not had anybody to work storylines. Let's see if we can make that work.
Well, I think of all of this, I will tell you the match I would probably like to see, and I know the work rate's not the same, but I think I would like to see Beth Phoenix versus Charlotte.
Yeah.
Just because of the size. That's the biggest knock that I have on everybody on Raw, other than Nia Jax, obviously. But I shouldn't say on Raw. Pretty much the women's divisions across both is that Charlotte's just so much bigger than most of them.
Yeah.
Put her in there with Beth Phoenix, and then I think that physical, just the appearance of the 2, you're like, okay, we maybe got something here. This is something that you can say that's, something tangible, that she's got a threat. And whether that's maybe Beth Phoenix is the thing that eventually turns her baby face or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I could see that. And then Victoria, just from a sheer worker standpoint, she was a phenomenal worker. So I have no issues bringing her back over there. Like I said, the Kelly thing just bugs me because unless she's ready to put in some work and, really try to go toe-to-toe with these women that are in here now, I'm not sure I'm sold on that signing.
Well, because, I mean, the women that are working now are working, and they're putting on phenomenal shows. So it's going to be tough. So hope the best for her.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, man, after that, we are going to address our last thing. We did put out our top 10 show on Valentine's Day this week, or this past week, I guess we should say now at this point. And we got some feedback on it. Good, bad, and indifferent. You know, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of indifferent. It was a lot of good and bad, right? I don't know if you've got your list in front of you, who you had it where, but I remember telling you this. The good, we did get a lot of feedback on, you know, kind of that top tier, having them in the right areas.
Yeah. I don't think there was really a lot of, between the two of us, I don't think people didn't approve of our picks. I think they, from what I heard, I know they didn't approve of the way we structured our picks.
Yeah, your big brutal beating that you took from most of it, we called it when you made it. You took a little bit of a beating on Rock and Sock.
Yeah.
Which we kind of thought might be coming.
But I'm a sports entertainer.
But you love sports entertainment. That's kind of your thing, so I wasn't shocked. But the ones that I took a little bit of heat for not having on the list was, no pun intended, Harlem Heat. They were, you know, not in my top 10. They were just outside. And then, of course, I got a little bit of heat because I brought up their name. I was sitting here wondering, I was like, if I didn't bring up their names, would people even thrown a fit about Hanson and Brody? You know, so, I mean, between...
I don't know, because, I mean, it's not, you don't remember them every day. You know, it's...
Yeah.
They were bigger in Japan than they were here.
Right. And then, of course, you know, the big one that I knew was Ole and Arn. Everybody told me they should have been in my top 10, and, you know, because they weren't, I had Arn in another slot. So, if you haven't listened to that episode, it literally was last week. Just go back into the archives, as they say, top 10 tag teams of all time. Take a listen to it. It's right there, and that's definitely one you want to check out. And then the other thing I just like to tell everyone is, you know, if you like that style, those top 10 shows, which, dude, we talked about it when we were doing, we love those shows.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun to do.
We wish we had more time. And to be quite honest with you, I wish that was a weekly show or a bi-weekly show that we just got to do. And I've actually contemplated changing one of the formats of one of our shows to that. It's just so it may be a bi-weekly show because people don't realize there's a little bit of research to do on those. I should say a little bit. Now, we're no Conrad Thompson. We're not doing that kind of research, but research in general has to be done.
Sometimes I just sit there and sit in total jealousy of Conrad. I'm not going to lie. I mean, he's able to put on this wrestling show where he is prepared and work at it. Apparently, he's very successful in the mortgage business. I mean, he's good looking like I am. It's pretty, you know. Actually,
I want to tell you a story. Actually, the funny part was, and I may actually tweet the story out. I'm trying to think of okay, I'm going to say her name because most of the time she does listen to the show, but I don't know if she'll get to this far into the show. We have a friend of ours who's single, and I'm just going to call her name's Abby, and I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to give her last name. And so you'll actually think the story's funny. I kept telling her, like, you know, I should really set you up with somebody, da-da-da-da. And then I thought to myself, like, you know what? She works in the banking industry. I'm trying to be vague here, so, you know, it doesn't get narrowed down to the nth degree. I was like, well, you know, I don't even know this guy, but I said, dude, it would be awesome because I think you would be able to hook up with this guy. And she was like, oh, no, come on. You know, and I said, no, really, his name's Conrad. Let me pull up a picture of him. She doesn't know who I'm talking about by any stretch of the imagination at this point. I pull up the picture, and she actually looks at him and goes, oh, he's not bad looking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Conrad Thompson, if you're listening, I you know, hey.
Yeah, she's a hell of a catch, man.
Heck of a catch, man. You know, so I don't know what his relationship status is because he's not on, I don't see on Facebook. He doesn't have it checked or something, I don't guess.
Well, he doesn't. He doesn't really talk too much about his personal life.
He doesn't. So, but anyway, so that was kind of a funny story. I can't even remember where we were, and I showed her that. I was like, "Look, check this out." She's like, "Hey, man." I was like, "But he lives in Alabama," so she's like, "I've had enough of Alabama." So, Alabama hasn't been a good stomping grounds for her as far as guys.
Well, I mean, it's not like she actually has dated anyone as cool as Conrad Thompson.
That's what I told her. I was like, "If you dated Conrad Thompson, I'd always have you over." You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I don't even know how we completely digressed on that. But back in our archives, check out, we've got top 10 rivalries of all time. So we've got a 2-part episode, 2 parts of that we made into 2 different episodes of wrestlers that we top 10 not currently in the Hall of Fame, who we think should be in the Hall of Fame. Which that episode, we have promised our viewers we are going to re-air that one the closer we get to the Hall of Fame, actually, just to see how many of those we got right. Because when did we do that episode? It was a couple months ago.
Oh, it's a while back. It was far back enough that
like we had no idea. There was no leaks, no rumors or anything about who was going in. And the funny part is we've actually already got, a couple of them right.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, that's a good one to check out. So anyway, so if you haven't listened to the tag team episode, take a listen. And we always tell you, hey, we appreciated the feedback, good or bad. We took the feedback like a champ.
Well, it's fun, it's fun. Just sparring back and forth with people about stuff.
Yep. And so if you want to get in on the action and you want to agree or you want to disagree, man, we're at that part of the show where, get your pen and pad out, right? Because I'm about to give you everything, right? It's simple, man. Just shoot us an email, tappedoutvwrestlingpodcast@gmail.com, tappedoutvwrestlingpodcast@gmail.com. But man, ours, seems to be the popular way. I get more DMs in a day now that I can possibly imagine. DMs on Twitter, @tappedoutpod. Again, that is @tappedoutpod. Of course, if you want to just shoot directly, if you thought Myron's list was nuts, you can just shoot him a thing at Twitter.
Yep.
What's your thing, man, on Twitter?
Yep, Myron the Mark TOP.
It's Myron the Mark TOP. Mine is just Tapped Out Nick. If you want to think that I'm a crazy idiot or you loved my list, either way, Tapped Out Nick. Then, man, of course, Facebook, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. We're there as well. And then, of course, your favorite place to send everybody and mine, just go to the website, man. God, does it make it simple.
It's a very good consolidated website where you can find everything you need to know about the Tapped Out show, the Tapped Out crew, all of our shows. So it's the way I like it. It's the way I liked it. I have it saved in my favorites right there in the middle of my homepage on my computer, and when I need to go somewhere, or when I need to shop on Amazon,
which is going to be obviously, absolutely. Because obviously one of the other things we do have on our webpage, other than all the places you can find us, is our Amazon link is there. If you click on that Amazon link, man, we just ask you to do it for us. It's just a way to support the show without having to come out of your pocket for any cash. Click on our link, go to Amazon, through our link, and through our link specifically, that's what we always want to tell you. Make your purchases like you were normally doing, nothing extra. Just make your normal purchases. Doesn't cost you anything, not a penny more. And they will actually kick a little coin our way, a little change to support the show. And we would appreciate it. That's all we can say. We totally would appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. It covers those operating costs.
Yeah. And, those costs, they go up depending on the new things that we add, the more shows we add. And then now I'm going to leak out finally. I wanted to go ahead and say it. Part of those operating costs is we are going to begin in the next week, maybe week and a half, 2 weeks, somewhere in that window. The dates will come out. We are going to start a live call-in show.
Yes.
We will be tweeting out and putting on Facebook the times of the shows and the phone number. So you'll be able to call in. And we're going to start adding some surprise guests in to mix it up a little bit as well. So it won't be just us that you're talking to.
Yeah, and if you've got some ideas of when you need us to, when is the best time for us to do these shows that y'all can call in, let us know. Give us some feedback on that.
Absolutely. That's what, a lot of the rumors are, do we do it right after Raw? Do we do it right after SmackDown? Do we do, eventually do we get one set up? We joked around about the Impact, have a show right after Impact, after the pay-per-views. Guys, if you're listening, man, shoot us an email, shoot us a DM, tell us, hey, when do you want us to do in these live shows? And we'll take that into advisement, and we'll, whatever we get the most of, what's the best time for you guys to be an interactive part of the show and get on the show. We'll that's maybe what we can do. Man, I think that's everything before we get out of here, right? I didn't miss anything.
I can't think of anything you missed. You got it all in there.
I try to get it all in. It's all we can do. But man, so I guess if that means we're done and we're getting ready to get out of here, what do we have to do now?
It's time to tap out.